Get you then an update on the fire. We're now joined by our reporter. She looks like she's on the mountain at this time. Mariska Botha, indeed, on the ground for us this afternoon. Very good afternoon to you once again, Mariska. So two things. One being that I'm hearing, and this is something that I've been picking up on social media, that in fact the person that was arrested, who admitted to having started the fire, was in fact a homeless man who had in fact been sort of living in that section of the mountain, and that's how the fire in fact did start. And so it seems that it was then some sort of a mistake. I wonder if you can verify for us if anything has been said at this point about that. But also on the back of that question, we're hearing that there are indeed flare-ups at this time, and you had spoken about the fact that the wind is quite strong where you are, so this is not really much of a surprise, is it?
Absolutely, Flo, you are absolutely correct. We are standing on the mountain, as you rightly said. We are in an area called Deer Park, just above Vredehok in Cape Town. This is where the latest flare-up is. I'm going to ask my colleague, Spiwe Ubasi, to just show you there's a thick cloud of smoke to my right and your left that's just hovering around here. And there's numerous firefighters from Working on Fire, the NCC, Environmental Services, City of Cape Town firefighters. Actually, one asked us a few moments ago if we are okay here because the wind is picking up again. Our eyes are burning. As you can see, we look like a lovely... This is where the latest flare-up is, and this is the area where they are watching and monitoring very closely. They did tell us that is what would happen. It would be contained, and then as up again, there will be flare-ups again, which is exactly what we're seeing right now. We understand the people living just below my left and your have been evacuated from this area as a precaution to ensure that there's no threat to life or limb, as JP Smith said. As I'm speaking about JP Smith, I can confirm to you that he told us this afternoon in the press briefing that the person who was arrested is a man who apparently does live on the mountain. He was apprehended standing next to a fire that was just starting to burn, and when he was asked, does he live here, he said yes. And if he was also asked, did you start the fire, and he said yes. But JP Smith saying at this stage they will still suss out exactly what the situation is around that. But there are a lot of vagrants that do live on the mountain, up in the caves here on Table Mountain as well. So at this point we do understand that the person that was arrested did indeed live on the mountain. But as JP Smith says, there will be better clarity in the next few days as they get more witness statements, and indeed as the police interviews the person that was arrested. But you are right, it is understood that he did live on the mountain.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we've been talking about the firefighters, and, you know, they were talking about how during that press briefing with Premier Alan Winde, how the firefighters have been stationed, you know, throughout, of course, where those fires could kind of come up again. And just from where you're standing, I'm just wondering if there is a lot of sort of presence in terms of the firefighters, and there's a real concern around those flare-ups also happening there where you are. And also, what I did hear was that 4 firefighters have been injured, and I just wonder if there's any sort of update at this point. We heard the Premier saying that, of course, they wish those firefighters well and prayers with their family and so forth, and I'm just wondering if there's any news in that regard.
Let's start with that question that you're asking. Yes, indeed, it is 4 firefighters that have been injured. They are being treated at local hospitals. And, of course, the Premier, the Mayor of the city, Arlene Weir, who's the incident commander, saying that all support will be given to them. Anton Bredel, the MEC for local government, saying indeed that they will support those firefighters. Yes, they have been injured. Of course, smoke inhalation is usually the kind of injury that we see in fighting fires like these, but they have given us no indication as to what the extent is of the injuries that the firefighters are being treated for. As to your second question, you ask if there's a lot of personnel on the ground. Let me just step out a shot so you can see. These are members of the NCC, and they are part of Environmental Services, contracted to Table Mountain National Park, and they are stationed here just so 10 meters below from where we're standing, keeping a very, very close eye on that smoke cloud. Of course, will react as soon as anything happens. And as you can see there, as my colleague is showing showing you, he's panning up to where the thick smoke is. It's blue gum trees that's up there, and they are, of course, an incendiary material when it comes to fires because of the oil that's present in its bark, in its roots, in its leaves. And that is one of the major problems when fighting fires in the Western Cape are exotic trees, alien vegetation like these blue gum trees that are a major concern because they flare up quickly, they burn intense, they burn hot, and they can burn for very, very long. So yes, indeed, firefighters are on the line here, watching, waiting, hoping. They told us a little while earlier, they hope that it doesn't come further down the mountain. As you can see, the wind is picking up there again, but they say they are ready to respond if needs be. We also heard from authorities earlier that if the wind does indeed die down tonight, they could be making great strides in putting this fire out. But of course, Mr. Prince from Table Mountain National Park telling us it could take up to a week to completely put out this fire. It is not something that could be done overnight or even the next day because of the nature of the weather that we have right now and because of the wind. He says it will take quite some time to extinguish this fire here on Table Mountain.
All right, Mariska, thank you so much for that report. Of course, being on the ground for us in these conditions might be quite difficult. That's Mariska Botha for us there in Cape Town on one of the mountains there where there is concern about flare-ups, but of course damage being assessed at this time while also dealing with the possibility of those flare-ups. Well, the Western Cape Premier Alan